This episode is brought to you by the Arvada Center because they're putting on Rodgers and Hammerstein's Cinderella. She's poor, she's got stepsisters, she's their maid. And then she gets a fairy godmother and she's like, you get this one wish. And she's like, I want to go to the ball and meet the prince. She has to get home before midnight or she turns into a pumpkin. This is a lush, romantic, and totally original take on the Broadway classic featuring Rodgers and Hammerstein's iconic music and lyrics. So she runs and she leaves her glass slipper. It's history's most famous fairy tale, but with a modern twist. This show is family friendly with kids' price tickets available. Celebrate the magic of Cinderella this holiday season, running November 24th through December 31st at the Arvada Center. For tickets and more information, visit arvadacenter.org. I wish I still had it. My shoes from prom were meant to look like glass slippers, and they had a little rose in the heel of them. They were amazing. They were so tacky. They're so tacky. Got them at Dillard's. Today on CityCast Denver, a historic preservation fight saved an iconic East Colfax diner from demolition, but now the future of Tom's Starlight is uncertain once again. Then we're talking about a local food influencer who got in hot water with millions of her own followers as accusations of cultural appropriation and disordered eating fly. Plus, our picks for your weekend. Today is Thursday, November 9th. I'm Bree Davies, and here's what Denver's talking about. Newsletter editor and our resident foodie, Peyton Garcia, is here. Hi, Pay.
Good morning, Bree.
And producer Paul Caroli is here with us as well.
Hey, Bree.
So we're getting ready to go into the weekend, talking about stuff we're going to do, and also food news. And we've got two really different and interesting stories today. I want to start with the Tom's Diner the Tom's Starlight situation. Which I know you can tell how much it's sunk into me that it's not a diner anymore. But this is a Denver institution. It's changing once again. Tom Messina, who owns Tom's Starlight, formerly Tom's Diner, is putting this beautiful old mid-mod restaurant on East Colfax up for lease. But this is the latest chapter in a kind of a long and complicated story. Paul, can you give us the too long didn't read of the Tom's Diner, Tom's Starlight situation?
So the story starts in 1967. Apparently there was a local restaurant chain called the White Spot.
Oh, yes.
Which is not to be confused for any Canadian listeners out there who, like me, thought it might be the same White Spot restaurant chain that's very famous in Vancouver.
Oh.
Very important pirate-themed White Spot restaurant. It has nothing to do with that.
Well, you said
completely different.
Pirate-themed.
Pirate themed.
Okay,
yeah.
I'm gonna probably need our old Denver heads to chime in here at some point and help me out, but I'm pretty sure ours was like a fake fancy place where like the waiters wore tuxedos.
Huh.
So very different.
I'd love to know.
Very different.
I'd love to know.
But it is not that.
Anyway, it's such a weird little coincidence of history. But yes, it's not that. So it's at 601 East Colfax. You've probably driven past. It has this very iconic Googie style, which, Brie, you'd probably be better at explaining than I can. I don't really know what Googie is.
Exaggerated roof lines, very space age oriented design. It's very 50s, very 60s for folks. You see it. It was most common in California diners, but this is one of the few that we had here in Colorado, that style.
Yep, one of the few. So Tom Messina bought the place in 1999. He ran it as Tom's Diner. It was this like 24/7 late night joint. I'm getting a lot of this from Westward, by the way. They've covered this place for years and years and years, especially around 2017, which was when this big brouhaha came up, a NIMBY-YIMBY fight over housing and development and zoning, because Tom, he put Tom's Diner on the market. He wanted to sell. He $4.8 million. He said he wanted to retire. A developer came forward. Apparently they had agreed on these terms. The developer said they were going to build apartments and knock it all down. Then May 2019, I think, was when the historic preservationist community was most engaged on this. They stepped in. They were like, should we maybe save this building that's representative of this style? And then, there was this huge fight. City council got involved. Everyone was talking about it, complaining, upset. The compromise came from Historic Denver, which helped broker a deal with a new buyer, the GBX Group, which accepted historic designation status and gave Tom some money to revamp the restaurant into Tom's Starlight, which opened in September 22 after some pandemic delays, with a, Westward says, a 1970s Palm Springs vibe. According to Tom, when it opened in the Denver Business Journal, he says, a lot of people are glad to see it come back, and that's why we're keeping it, and that it's historic.
But
so
is that what Tom wanted?
I think Peyton, that's really the deepest question. I want to get to that, but you've been there, we've been there.
Mm-hmm.
What was your take on this iteration of the Tom saga, the Tom Starlight version? What did you think?
Well, I'll say that I never went to Tom's Diner when it was Tom's Diner. Although I've heard very fond memories from you, Bree.
Loved it.
About it. It was cool though. I thought it was neat. It was this like swanky evening cocktail lounge vibe. Very Palm Springs 70s. Cool cocktails, cool mocktails. We went there when I was pregnant, and I enjoyed the mocktails, and Tom brought us all some freshly baked cookies, which were delicious. It was cool, but I don't know. We talked to Tom, and I kind of got the vibe that he wanted to be at home.
Yeah,
not running a swanky evening cocktail lounge.
This was something I think all of us sort of inferred from his body language. But Paul, do you want to talk about that?
Well,
what we saw sort of in Tom's eyes?
We knew he wanted to sell the place back in 2017.
He wanted to retire.
Yeah, he wanted to be done. It sounded like he was tired, and that's fine. You know, he had this property. But then he agreed to this compromise, and I always had this sense that he didn't want to do it. I mean, he wanted to retire. We knew that. So when we went in there as a team that one night, I remember asking him very distinctly, Tom, how do you feel? It's reopened. Are you excited? And I remember he shrugged and he was like, I hope people come back. I was like, oh man, Tom's Diner must have been like something special, and it hadn't been for a while.
Well, and I think when reading his descriptions of sort of him getting, think about it, you guys, running a diner on East Colfax from 1999 through the 2010s. That is a long time. You're seeing a lot. Colfax sees a lot. That guy has seen a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I think anybody that went to Tom's Diner would know, like myself, it was full of characters, good and bad, situations good and bad. It could be a little bit stressful, and I could see where this man was ready to retire, and instead he was handed a whole new restaurant concept, which does feel a little bit like a nightmare if you think about it. Like, I'm ready to retire now, and someone's like, psych, here's a whole new project.
And I kind of wish he could have gone out on like a high note, like go out on riding the coattails of like Tom's Diner's success. But instead now he has this cocktail lounge, which honestly, it kind of sounds like it did not do great, or did not do the numbers they wanted it to do, which is part of the reason that they're leasing it, if I'm
for sure
understanding that
exactly
correctly.
Right.
Well, because think about, you guys were also in a post, or the height of the pandemic world, where we've been watching restaurants deal with this for the last 3 years. I imagine that's part of this whole story too, is he's trying to run a restaurant in a pandemic world.
I looked into this. Technically, GBX owns the building now, which is what the historic preservationists were fighting over. And it is that historic preservation. It is still valid. I think they're probably just going to be looking for someone new to take over the lease. I emailed GBX. I haven't heard back yet about what their plans are, who they think they might lease to, or what else might happen there. Because they still have the option to develop in the parking lots behind the restaurant, but also then you're taking away parking from this restaurant. And was that part of the problem? I don't know.
It sounds like to me, based on the Business Den article that I read, that a restaurant is going to go into it, likely under a new name and concept.
I mean, it'd be very expensive to do anything else.
But I'm just like, did we have to do this whole charade the last year for Tom? Like, couldn't Tom have just, I mean, I don't really understand why he agreed to the Tom Starlight thing to begin with. Why couldn't we have just put a new restaurant in from the start of this whole thing? But I don't know.
Bree, why do you think that happened?
I don't know. I'm assuming it's something to do with the business side of it or something that made more sense for him profitability wise, because again, he was trying to retire. When you're trying to retire, you're trying to take your assets or your, what you've invested in and take that and be able to live. And so maybe in some capacity that was a better deal for him. I honestly, I just wish it would become a diner again. We need diners so bad. We need a 24-hour diner so bad. So I would love to see that happen.
Well, here's to hoping it becomes a diner, and here's to hoping Tom gets the retirement he's always dreamed of.
This episode is brought to you by Ednium. Ednium is an action-focused community development organization that partners with recent public school alumni to change the way our city educates and reinvests in its homegrown talent. With a new-look Denver Public Schools Board of Education taking office, Ednium's podcast is a great place to learn more about the ins and outs of DPS. And for a refresher on who these board members are, check out the DPS Board of Education Candidate Series wherever you get your podcasts. Again, that's Ednium, EDNIUM, wherever you get your podcasts. Note, Ednium is a 501c3 and does not endorse any candidate, and all candidates were invited to participate in this series.
Maruchan superfans are everywhere. From the busy moms who want to deliver maximum flavor in a flash to dorm room diners who want to put some slurp in their step. There are a ton of copycats you could use, but if you want to bless your bowl, there's only one true Maruchan. Whether you choose instant lunch, ramen bowls, yakisoba, or restaurant quality gold, Maruchan is the only ramen worth obsessing over. Smiles for all. Maruchan. See what all the ramen hype is about at maruchan.com.
Our next story, totally shifting gears, we're talking about a local food influencer. She's based out of Silverthorne, who, according to the New York Times, has gotten herself into some hot water. Peyton, who is Tegan Gerard, and what is Half-Baked Harvest?
So Tegan Gerard is, so she operates something called Half-Baked Harvest, which is, from what I understand, like a social media handle. And I don't really know. I know that that's what she operates under, and she posts recipes online, like on Instagram and TikTok and stuff. Those like really popular, easy to do recipes that are all the rage right now. She's also penned a couple of cookbooks that have had pretty great success. And after reading the New York Times article, I learned that she's Red Gerard's sister.
Yeah, that was an interesting detail. But what is he, a snowboarder?
Yeah, the snowboarder?
Uh-huh. Yeah, an Olympic snowboarder. So that was interesting. But yeah, I mean, I've heard her name. I've heard Half-Baked Harvest because I know a lot of people who follow her online. I know my husband follows her and has, taken a couple of her recipes. I think she's a pretty big deal. She even got, over the pandemic, she got a lot of celebrities who were kind of endorsing her stuff, and so
she's got like 5 million followers.
Yeah, she made it big. Her latest cookbook was on the New York Times bestseller for it was something crazy, like 33 straight weeks or something.
Wow. So yeah, she's kind of a big deal, but there's some controversy, which is kind of what the New York Times was focusing on. Paul, do you want to explain what the controversy is with the Half-Baked Harvest situation?
Yes. It seems multifaceted to me, but I think it boils down to her getting a lot of angry comments from her own followers. I'll quote from the New York Times. Gerard has also become an unwilling lightning rod for controversy entangled in issues that have galvanized the food world in the last decade, including cultural appropriation, intellectual property, body shaming, privilege, and racism. On the appropriation front, she has called tacos with pineapple Hawaiian and noodles with honey and peanut butter Chinese. Apparently, some of her followers were also upset. She posted a dish she called pho, but had nothing, like it wasn't the Vietnamese noodle soup. It was just something else. NBC News even reported on one of her posts, I think, because people were upset that she called something a banh mi rice bowl. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think we've seen this before, right? Like someone gets into hot water and their own fans turn on them. Is there more to it? Do you all see more there?
Pei, what do you think?
I feel really bad for her. I think that this got me all worked up because I don't know, people are just, it sounds to me like it's a bunch of people who are safely hiding behind their keyboards and have, just want to have something to say. Just want to have mean things to say. So there's this piece in the New York Times that I'll quote for you guys. It says, on Reddit, where her staff cannot moderate conversations, anonymous commenters publish detailed theories about her motivations and her inner demons to a weekly snark thread dedicated to her. In October, members of the Foodie Snark subreddit monitored geotags in Chicago to track how many fans showed up at a promotional appearance for her new pumpkin spice candle. Like, that's just really a whole dark. New level of extra. And they're like always, I guess, commenting on like her body weight and saying like she's so skinny, she must have an eating disorder. Like, how are you gonna put out all of these recipes when you're clearly friggin' anorexic? It's just horrible.
This bothered me so much because this at first, this was just purely conjecture or what people are saying. This is not real. And as a person with a partner who's a very thin person naturally, who eats all kinds of foods, people judge him a lot on whether or not he gains weight. And I saw that in this experience for her. And I thought, what's wrong with people that this is the kind of conversation you're having about somebody? And I'm with you 100%. This story was a nothing burger. I saw somebody reporting on online snark. This is like shade room stuff, but it's on the New York Times. It made no sense to me whatsoever because most of it's just unfounded or commentary. It's based on like the comments or I want to go back to this conversation about appropriation.
Yeah, me too.
She called tacos with pineapple Hawaiian and noodles with honey and peanut butter Chinese. Okay, not cool. I get it. Are we going after every pizza place that has a Hawaiian pizza? No.
That's my thing too. I don't know.
Why is she
harsh.
The lightning rod? Yeah. Why is she it's just like, she's popular right now. She's a business and she's making money and it makes people mad. And also I follow her and I follow a lot of different recipe, like Instagrams. She's not much different from most of the other ones I follow. Like, not to say she's not special, but like nothing ever stuck out to me as like, ooh, that's in bad taste, or like, ooh, she's just like everybody else.
It's like
she's posting
recipes. So unintentional. I mean, sure, mispronunciation of certain terms, that's too bad. And I don't know. Like you said, I think the Hawaiian pizza thing is such a good point. I'm somebody who considers himself a foodie and likes to try all these different cuisines from different cultures. And do you know how many times I've probably mispronounced stuff? And like if I had somebody writing in to behead me every time I did that, like it's completely unintentional. And I don't know. What do you think, Paul?
Gatekeepy. Yeah, Paul,
what did you think? My mind is racing on this. It's a tough one. It's a tough one because I also feel sympathetic to her in this, like as someone who loves experiencing other cultures through food and trying new things. And, that's one of the joys of life for me. So how could I begrudge her for doing the same thing and learning about pho, even in her small way? But I think that's the problem, is that she doesn't seem to be improving. At least if I can put myself in the fan's perspective. But even there, I don't really know. I don't follow her, although I do now, and the videos are immaculate. She is so good at doing the visuals. Like, wow. I think what I always come back to with situations like this is, where's the harm? Where's the harm that she's causing? Can I name it? Can I identify it? And with this case, like, I struggled, and maybe you all can see something I'm not, but I think like, so someone's searching on Instagram for a recipe for pho, and they say pho, and then her video pops up and it has nothing to do with pho. That person then has this mistaken impression, and maybe they'll get into trouble, or maybe she's taking away a click from someone who would be serving a more traditional pho that would be better use of the person's time searching on Instagram. But honestly, I mean, it's a stretch. That's my best effort.
The only credit I'll give is there's a line. It was someone in the New York Times article they quoted, who I think she writes about restaurants and bloggers and whatever. She says, why does she, referring to Tegan Gerard, why does she get a seat at the table when there are so many people who actually know this stuff? Because people were commenting saying like she doesn't, like her recipes are not particularly like unique or challenging. She clearly has some ignorance around these like other cultural cuisines. So a lot of people are saying she only is where she's at because of her wealth and privilege, which
that's just so clearly not true. If you look at the account, like the photos are immaculate. It's obvious why people like it.
Yeah.
They are beautiful.
Yeah. And she's done this for
Also,
like 10 years.
What table? She's not out here promoting cultural appropriation. She's not she's not at a podium spouting what she believes is authentic cuisine from somewhere. She's making recipes on Instagram. Like, that was the quote too, Pay, that really struck me, because I was like, where? Show me. I mean, sure, she has 5 million followers, but you know what? Have you guys ever seen Mr. Beast on YouTube? That guy's worthless.
Yeah, he gave
and
me
awful.
$10,000 once.
He does the weird charity stuff for clicks.
That's his
it's
thing.
terrible.
He makes videos where
but
he
I'm
gives
just
away
saying,
money.
like, he's out here doing nothing, and he also has millions of followers. So why are we randomly picking on this one influencer who happens to be a young white woman from rural Colorado? I don't know.
Yeah.
I told Paul, I said I was surprised that the New York Times greenlit this piece, that some editor said this was worthy of writing about, because I found it to be a whole lot of nothing.
I disagree. I think this is a story. I think it's a story because this is what pop culture is now. Someone who's very popular on Instagram, who does Instagram really, really well, has created this platform. She has all these followers, and they are talking about the issues that matter to people in our world right now through her.
She's
the subject, but she's really the spark. Like, I love how they actually wrote this sentence. Gerard has become an unwilling lightning rod for controversy. It's not really about her. I mean, she's bearing the brunt of the criticism, and the body shaming stuff, that's different for me. It's conversations about her, and I think that's okay. Or it's conversations about these issues, and I think it's okay that it's happening in a forum dedicated to her.
I think it's weird. I think
it
it's
can
misdirected.
just be so dangerous. I mean, I hear what you're saying, Paul, and I think the internet, you can't control the internet. You can't control internet trolls. So like these conversations are going to happen no matter what. And hopefully she just does a good job, and her people do a good job of shielding her from that. But it's just so dangerous. The internet can be such a nasty place.
Yeah, let us know what you think, listeners. Are you a follower of Half Baked Harvest? Is this something that struck you, or maybe there's other recipe bloggers you follow out there that seem more controversial? I don't know. I'm so curious. Maybe in the larger world, there's more context we're missing. But give us a call on the News You Can Chew hotline at 720-500-5418. Again, leave us a voicemail with your name, neighborhood, and your thoughts on Half Baked Harvest and the world of food bloggers at 720-500-5418. At the end of this Thursday show, we share our picks for your weekend. Each of us has prepared something personal, a recommendation, an event, a new restaurant, something fun to do, and we wanted to share it with you all for this upcoming weekend. Peyton, do you want to start us off?
Sure. So this weekend, I would like to hit up a farmer's market, because it is, I think, quite likely the last weekend we could do farmers markets, and I know a lot of them have closed, but there's a couple up here in Boulder County. There's one in Longmont and one in, I think, Lafayette that are still open. And as far as our Denver peeps, the South Pearl Street one is still open this weekend, which I've heard from Lizzie Goldsmith, one of our producers here, who lives in that area, that's a really cool one to go to.
Oh, it's
I think
huge.
It's only open this weekend. Maybe.
I think maybe my favorite farmer's market in the city, Pearl Street.
Well,
it's
there
the
you go.
one.
I've heard great things.
I've never been to it, but my doctor's office is in a little house on Pearl Street, and there's always signs for it. And I'm like, oh, I should come back down here when they're having it.
Yeah, I think it's a really popular one. And they're doing it for only 2 more weekends, I think. This weekend, and then I think the one after that. But it very may well be your last chance. The weather should be decent. It's going to be like 60 and sunny. So this is your last shot to go out and enjoy a good old farmer's market day. Stock up on all that good fall squash to make some soups with.
Ooh.
Some fall squash soup. That's what we like to use our squash for.
That sounds great, Pay. I like that idea. A nice stroll in a farmer's market. Last good weekend of the season. Paul, what about you?
Well, I've got I got movies on the brain, Bree. I'm in the mood for movies with the Denver Film Fest happening this last week or so. I have not made it to any screenings, but I'm hoping maybe Saturday night is the one. I'm on the wait list for the closing night screening of ISS, which is a drama about the International Space Station. It's gotten some awards buzz I've been reading about. It stars, in my opinion, the world's greatest actor, Chris Messina. And this is, it's at the DMNS Infinity Theater. So
who's Chris Messina?
Chris Messina. I mean, he's like one of the he's an average looking white guy mostly, but he was in that movie Julie and Julia that I think I'm in the minority of actually liking quite a bit. And his on-screen eating in Julie and Julia was incredible. So, you know, maybe they'll get him some 0G astronaut food or something in that movie. I don't know. I want to see it. I want to see what he does with that.
What an interesting take, Paul.
You
Also
know Chris Messina,
plug-
Peyton? Chris Messina is the best.
No.
He's great.
I just like that you can point to the fact that you really like his on-air eating or his on-screen
it's a
eating.
thing. I'll give you my list,
Now I
my
have to
top
Google
5
it.
on-screen eating performances sometime.
Watching other people
Okay.
eat doesn't make you uncomfortable, Paul?
Well, most of
It
the
makes me
time, sometimes
uncomfortable.
in real life, I don't really mind, but in movies and TV and stuff, they never actually eat, and you can tell because like they do so many takes, they're not going to
Right.
eat like a million
They'll get
hot
sick,
dogs,
for sure.
but not Chris Messina. He went to town.
Okay. But I do like your plug for the film fest.
Yes.
Still going on. It's a really awesome thing that happens here in Colorado. I mean, famous people come to Colorado for it. It's a big deal, and I'm always a fan of the after parties. So they always have great after parties, great music. It's just nice to hang around and meet people. So it's still going on.
Well, if I can't get into that screening, you might still see me at the after party. That sounds pretty fun.
Just go hang out at the after party. That sounds good.
What do you got, Bree? What are you doing this weekend?
Cat Fest.
Cat Fest? I never would have ever.
I know what
million
you're
years.
thinking. I am not a cat person. I'm a cat neutral person. I would say I like cats, but I went to Cat Fest last year because my friend Jamie's band Koi on Kitten was playing. They're like a cat themed band, and I remembered how much fun it was, and I came across this listing, and I was like, "Oh, Cat Fest is happening again!" And like, it's interesting to me. It's people watching. There's a lot of people with like cats in backpacks and like cats in fancy outfits. And it's just a lot of cat people, but also they have adoption booths. They have a Hello Kitty bounce house. They have a panel where you get up and tell your story of the most annoying cat. There's a cat video cafe.
I'm shocked.
The celebrity MC is Miss Priscilla Pausley, who's like a Priscilla Presley
This
cat
is happening in Denver?
person.
When is this?
Yeah, it's this weekend. It's on Sunday at the National Western Expo Hall.
I did. I
10
saw
to
a lot
5.
of it. I saw a lot of posts for it too when I was looking for weekend events, and I never in a million years would have thought that would be your recommendation, Bree. But I bet you
It's
people
fun.
would see producer Lizzie Goldsmith there.
Oh,
who
for
is
sure.
a cat fanatic.
Mhm.
For sure. She's probably getting some outfits for Toothless.
I'm
her
sure.
cat. But it's super fun. It sounds weird. I don't know. I like, part of me is like, I'm an observer of humans, and I love seeing people in their element, and I love seeing people in their community and around their people. And it's just like when people really let their freak flag fly. If you're a cat person, this is like where you're going to see all your people. And I respect that. I don't know. I love fandoms. I respect fandoms. So I think that Cat Fest it's worth it whether you're a cat person. I mean, if you're not a cat person, probably don't go. But if you're a cat curious person, this is a good place to start.
All right, I like it.
there you have it. Those are our weekend picks. We have more, as always, every day in the newsletter at denver.citycast.fm. You can subscribe to Hey Denver, and Peyton gives us great picks every day of the week. Peyton, Paul, thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, this was great.
Thanks, Bree. See you next time.
That's all for today here on CityCast Denver. If you enjoyed the show, why not take a minute to tell Tegan Gerard about us? Rate the show wherever you get your podcasts and subscribe to our morning newsletter, Hey Denver, and learn more about us at denver.citycast.fm. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. See you later. Maybe you're cat curious. I don't know.